Hi, everybody, and welcome to our 9th episode of High Vibin' with Rev Rob and Hilary. How are you, Rob?
I'm Hilary. I'm Hilary. I'm not Hilary. I'm Rev Rob. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm wonderful, actually. Had a nice weekend and glad to be here. And we did not plan this.
We're
We did not
twinning.
plan this. We are twinning, as we often do. But this one's kind of cool because making that choice to not wear like a collar shirt was very specific for me. And so when you turned on your screen and you were there with that tank top, I'm like, synchronicity, baby. We talked about it in what, episode 2 or 3?
Yeah. So, couple interesting things. First of all, tune in next week when we're going to have a special guest, someone who's watched all of our videos, and we're going to do a recap of the first 9 videos. And the person that's going to come is somebody who is just an audience member who will provide some interesting content for us to discuss and sort of sum up everything that we've done so far. But today we are going to talk about manifesting your goals. And the reason that you don't see us in our cafe today is because there are things that we need to hold up and they would be invisible otherwise. So now you get to see our cool backgrounds in our own
Our
places,
home backgrounds, yes.
our own backgrounds. So Rob, what do you think about manifesting your goals? What are your thoughts on that?
I can tell you right now, I'm just stressed even thinking about it. Like it stresses me out. So, I mean, as we've talked, like the power of manifesting is really, it's real. And my first foray into manifesting was Shakti Gawain creative visualization, which is a
Hmm,
very great exercise. I mean, she just offers great, very easy to understand practical ways to do this.
right.
So, like her and others like Pam Grout, it's when you start practicing with some of these simple exercises, you can see the thread. It really, really works. But when I hear the word goal, like that's a whole nother thing. Like, how do I manifest the parking space? Can do it. How do I manifest finding my keys? Can do it. How do I manifest finding something that's lost? Can usually do it. How do I get a vision board together and like make plans for my life? That's a whole nother story. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So
stressed out.
this will be a good discussion because I think Rob represents a lot of us. I feel like, half of the population is kind of like that. Like it's a little more difficult to make decisions and move forward. And then people like me have an easier time manifesting, but we also sometimes sort of bulldoze our way through things where, and the word controlling can come in there and things like that. So this topic is really close to my heart. I actually wrote a book about it that I'm just going to do a shameless plug for really quickly. It is called The
The
Answer
answer.
A Handbook to Teach You How to Have It All. And this book is basically from all the groups that I was teaching. I was teaching everybody how to manifest for their goals. And so I basically just took the exercises from the groups because we were seeing that it was working and put it into this book. Only $9 on Amazon, and there'll be a link in the comments section.
Excellent, excellent. Well, and I mean, as your friend and someone who's known you for a while, you are a living example of, manifesting and having it all. And it's not, it is because you've taken the time to really reflect on what you want and you put energy toward, focusing on those things. So, the book is written from somebody who knows what she is talking about. So, that's it's awesome. It's awesome. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was one thing I wanted to manifest was creating a book and publishing it, and I did. So let's go through the steps on how we actually do this. And we'll walk through these steps with Rob and see if this gives him clarity. Maybe he can even name something he wants to create for himself. But or not.
Will
But
I?
the first step with manifesting your goals is to know what it is you want, and you have to be very specific. There's a really good quote that I like from what's her name? The Abrams. She talks to
Abraham Hicks. Yeah.
Esther Hicks. And
Yes,
she
Esther Hicks.
says, the universe doesn't know the difference between manifesting a castle or a button. So dream big. So I think that alone scares people, because they're like, well, I can't ask for something that is greater than my expectations. That can't happen. And I just want to tell you, you can, because I manifested a beach condo, which is where I spend as much time as possible. And for years and years and years, I wasn't sure that this could ever be, but I did all the steps to get myself there. And then I gave it to God and let it go. And sure enough, it did manifest. And,
And it's a nice condo.
it's a nice condo. And
It's a nice
7 years
condo.
later, we're there. So it's possible you can manifest massive things. It's just all about aligning your thoughts and then moving forward in action. So when I say to you, Rob, do you know what you want? Could you think of something that you want?
Sure. I have been for years wanting to renovate my kitchen. That's just been, since we've been in the house for 15 years, if not more. Renovating the kitchen has always been just a huge desire for me. It feels very unattainable whenever we get very close to it. Like whenever we've started the process, we've discovered whoever was working on the house to try to start this found something else that diverted our resources and our stuff. So it never gets done. And
Right.
it really ticks me off because again, I know that it works. I've been able to bring relatively good things in my life and healing to my body, but
Yeah.
there are certain things that I just feel like I have this blind spot or roadblock to doing because I don't know, on some level I don't feel like I deserve it or I don't feel like it can
Right.
get done. It feels bigger than me.
Right. Which is so common. And so, okay, so let's take that example then, of wanting to redesign your kitchen. So first thing I was going to say too, is oftentimes people will say, well, I don't even know what I want, which is very common. First of all, we keep our minds so busy, with, all the information between our phones, our TVs, everything, that unless you can create a quiet, calm mind, you often can't hear your higher self or your intuition speaking to you. And I call her my she, but she's speaking to me all the time, but I can only hear her in the shower, taking a walk by myself, or sitting quietly. So that's the first step, is that if you don't know what you want, you have to get quiet to even hear what the possibilities are. And you also have to remember when you were a child, what were the things, if you're looking, if you want to know what your life purpose is or whatever, and you're not sure what to do, you have to go back to, because your life purpose should always be wrapped inside joy. It should be something that brings you joy. So I always tell people to go back to when they were a child and what were the things that brought them joy. For me as a life coach, I've always enjoyed communication. It was just my favorite, and everybody would tell me their problems all the time growing up. So that was kind of how I found it. So, first you get quiet, you listen to your inner knowing, and then you're so now you have an idea. So Rob wants to redo his kitchen. Okay.
But
So
you know what? I'm gonna go with what you said before. I'm gonna dream bigger. Really,
okay.
the true fantasy has always been to, when I was way younger, to have an old Victorian row house like we're living in now, and to to just kind of, gut it and do something fun with it. Turn something that looked like it was this way and to become and have it be a showplace. So I'm just gonna just expand that out a little more meta and say that's what I'm envisioning.
So,
Because
so,
yeah, like your
so
house
you want to redo, so you want to like gut the house and do it in more of a showplace look. Is that what you're saying?
just discover, just to have put my imprint on something, have us put our imprint on our home, which we have not done. We've never renovated anything. I mean, we did a couple things piecemeal as we've gone along, but to create something together on the inside that reflects who we are, like many of our
Right.
friends have done, most of our friends have done at some point. So yeah, that's what I
Right.
want.
Okay. Okay. So now we get into, so the first step is to know what you want. So we just decided that, and now we have to write the goal, which obviously you're not going to write on a piece of paper right now, but there's certain language that you want to use when you're manifesting. You don't want to put things in the future. You want to put them in the present. So the difference is using the words. I use the words I am as opposed to I will, because I will sets it for a later date, and that could
Leaves it in
might
that
never
state.
happen. And
Right.
just
It's always right.
so and just to show, can you read this? That my
I
wrist says
am.
I am, because these are the two most important words that I think exist in the language,
They
because
are.
whatever you put after it is your truth. So okay, so can you come up with a one sentence statement, Rob, about this house with the words I am
I am
or we
walking.
are?
Yes. Uh, uh, well, I want to do this for both of us, but I also feel like I don't want to include somebody else into my thing. So like I'm walking with my husband and we're so happy that, we're doing we are walking through a newly designed and renovated home that has reflected our taste and our quirkiness and our being that we just love. So
Okay, but we need a one sentence
that was one sentence. It
statement.
was long.
That was
Um,
not.
I am, and when I do this, I like to create like an actual scenario. So I am shutting off my lamp to go to sleep, content in my beautiful, newly renovated home.
Okay. 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 So that's Rob's way of doing it. I might say I enjoy living in my new renovated home. For me, because whatever it is that you pick, you want to be able to remember it and draw on it often. So okay, so you have your statement, and then the next thing, I'm going to back up for this. The next thing you want to do is create a vision board. And I've been doing these every year in my groups, and I also want to say with a vision board, it's not just important just to make the vision board. If it's not in a place where you're going to see it all the time, it's not going to work. So this is 2022 for me vision board, but I just want to show you, this is 2012. And if you look closely, you'll see it's like all nasty because it's in my bathroom. And so the shower, the heat, the steam gets over the board eventually, although I've gotten wiser over the years and I print photos like on photo paper now. But my point is, if you stick it in your bathroom, you'll see it there when you start the day and you'll see it there when you finish the day. And it reminds you. Now, I used to tell people to put like a statement, like what Rob just said, but for it to connect, you really just want an image, and you want to look like, for instance, this one is about acceptance of myself and really acceptance of everything. So if I just look at this picture, I will get that image in a split second. So there is an art to creating vision boards. Make them really simple, leave space in between, and make them really obvious. A lot of what I'm creating for this year. Oh, actually, I have a kitchen remodel here. I don't know if you can see it.
There we go.
Yeah, there's a kitchen remodel. And it doesn't matter to me that the kitchen might not be my kitchen. It's just, it just reminds me that this is
Right, right.
what I want. So have you tried making a vision board before, Rob?
Oh, sure. Sure, I've tried. I've
So
tried.
you've not gotten to the point where you've displayed one then.
No, so I mean, I've done a vision. I did a workshop. I did a vision board workshop with the pastor of ISD in Sparta, New Jersey, and so she came to DC. So I did one there, relatively, relatively successfully. But one that I was working on that was a part of a retreat that I, was actually, helping to organize. I ended up allowing myself to be distracted by the logistics of the workshop and then did not do the board. So I came home with a lot of like cutouts of things, but
This is
I said I
also
was gonna.
very common too. Very often, I have noticed that people who would take my vision board class, a lot of them would do everything but create the actual vision. They would do collages, or they would, cut out a bunch of things and just look at things the whole night, but never really be, you have to be really like, what's the word?
I think you have to be focused, but I think you have to be courageous to dream big. I think as adults we censor ourselves all the time. We censor ourselves if we're working on art projects. We're so used to a voice inside of us going, "You what are you talking about?" Like,
Yeah.
and you let your age or your status or whatever. But I think that the for me it's been having someone convince me to dream big as if none of it mattered. It's
Yeah.
kind of it's like, so I'm attaching something that's part of my day-to-day life, but what I really want to do is to dream of something that is not part of my day-to-day life, because and not have to worry about it fitting in with that.
Right. So basically then it means that you need the vision board, you need a succinct statement that you're saying or thinking,
Hmm.
pretty
As a mantra.
regularly to cement it in. And then the third step is you want to spend some time imagining or visualizing what that would look like. When you are walking through your house, what specifically do you see? And you could literally, like, because as kids we did this all the time, it was so natural. We would daydream and make believe and, like, exactly what we wanted. And in the movie The Secret, they talk about how this child wants a bike, and so he knows he wants a green bike with a banana seat that's beige, and he wants the wide handlebars and like all this stuff, and he even draws a picture of it and he keeps it by his bed and he looks at it every night, and sure as shit he gets his
Hmm.
bike. And so it's really the same with us, but it's kind of got to be in the forefront of our minds.
Yeah, and I've heard, and I've read and I've tried to apply the principle that um, like our physical bodies don't know the difference between what we've imagined and what is in our real life. So if we attach our emotions to whatever we are envisioning, so if we are imagining ourselves content or happy or something in the middle of that vision, um, our body doesn't know whether we're dreaming it or whether we're imagining it or whether we're actually living it. It's this, it is the same thing.
Right.
And I think this is a Abraham Hicks concept as well. But it's like, so putting yourself not just as an observer, like thinking of it as a picture, but like being inside that experience, like directly.
Yeah.
And and so that's why, like, I try to be specific in the, like, I'm imagining the light turning off because I want to imagine my daily life. And for me, I've usually found myself like one day just I'll be clicking that light off and be like, oh, yeah, that's it. um Athletes do this when they envision their success
That's
and
right. That's a really
experience.
good point. Athletes will literally go through the whole race in their minds, and they say that when they measure it, they can see that they're that their adrenaline is firing, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. So it's very real to visualize. So yeah, so you would want to, think about that kitchen, think about it a lot. When I wanted my beach place, I was like, here's what I want. I know I want to be right on the ocean. I know I want to be high up. I know, just I had a picture in my mind, but of course, not getting attached to you have this you visualize it, but however the universe brings it is how the universe brings it too. Okay. Okay. Then the next part, which most people have, this is where everyone drops out, is you have to do the work. That part is really tricky. So let's say you want to revitalize your house, then maybe spend, 15 minutes each day, or maybe not each day, but regularly, where maybe you surf the internet and you start picking out and cut out, how do you want your backsplash to look, and what kind of furniture do you want here, and what kind of window treatment, that kind of thing. You could sort of piece it all together and make your own board for that. But you have to move forward. You have to align your thinking with your action, because as much as, we love, the magical, mystical things that happen, nothing happens without doing something.
Right.
You got
It's interesting because we have had a couple of we did have a contractor that we almost started working with, and in my mind, since I'd never gone through this process, they're going to come and make recommendations. He wasn't a designer; he was just a contractor, so he didn't come with designs. But that's what I wanted. And so when he starts, he asked me, because I'm sure most people that he works with, when he says, "So what are you thinking?" Most people have Pinterest.
Right.
They're ready to go with that answer, and I was like, I don't know. I thought you were going to tell me what I want. I really
Right.
was totally unprepared, because. I don't know, because I just felt like, well, you'll tell me, but that's taking the control and putting it completely out of me. Like it's just saying,
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
just waiting for somebody to hit it, and
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And so one thing that's interesting about doing the work to manifest your goals is, I just want to bring up this thing for people to visualize. When you are driving down a dark road, you can only see about 10 to 20 feet in front of you. So you drive those 10 to 20 feet, and then the next 10 to 20 feet
right,
show up, and the next and the next. So what I'm getting at is, in the journey of manifesting, you can't see the end game. You can't see how you're going to get there or any of that. Well, I guess you see the goal, but you have to trust that you're just doing this work, so maybe you're looking on the internet, you're finding things for your house that you like, you're making a board of some kind, and you just trust that then when you're finished doing that, then something will happen. Maybe you'll bump into someone who knows somebody who's like, oh, I just use this really great renovator, he's so
right,
inexpensive or whatever. So it's like, you don't want to, I think a lot of people also get thrown off because it feels so overwhelming that they don't know where to begin. So they just don't do anything. But just by doing just that step, just by putting in a little bit of work each day, will eventually get you where you want to be. And trusting that you can't see the journey
right, and
or the path.
we've talked about Pam Grout, an author, here several times, and she was sharing a chapter about her own manifestation, and she said she wanted to be a world traveler. And so, our adult sensors go, well, how can I be a world traveler if I don't make enough money? Or if you start putting in what the conditions may be. But, for her, it was like flash forward, and I got this job, and I was a writer, and they sent me all over the world. Like, it wasn't a way that she expected to get there. And that's, that's where the universe happens. Thinking big means don't think about how to get there. Don't
Right. It's the
just,
how.
it's the
You
how.
don't go
Yeah, don't
down
think
the
about the
how
how, right?
road. All you need to know
Nope.
is what you want, and then start just taking little teeny steps forward, because you're aligning your thoughts with your action. Okay. And then, all right. So just to recap, we know what we want. We're writing a goal. We create a vision board. We spend time visualizing. We're doing the work. And then the next step is act on hints from the universe. And that is where stuff shows up all the time, which is interesting to help guide you on the way. But again, you have to be clear enough. If your headphones are in, if you're chatting on the phone or whatever, you might not hear or notice the book that fell off the shelf or the numbers that are repeating or whatever it is to kind of direct you on your way. But definitely to pay attention to signs that are directing you, because I do believe, would you agree that we're
Oh,
always
absolutely.
being
Yes.
directed?
Yeah, and believing that you are believing that you're being directed. Like, don't say show me a sign and then have signs appear to you all over the place that you don't realize that are signs. It's like
Right.
you have to open yourself up to whatever it could be. It could be a conversation, or it could be the book that falls off. Anything can be the sign if you allow it to be like there, and to open yourself up to, oh, I'm gonna take this road that I might have not taken had that thought popped up, or the song popped up on the radio, or
Yeah,
or the conversation happened. So absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah. And then after that, is practice positive thought. So every time that voice comes in that says, you're not getting this, you don't freaking deserve it, it's too much money, it's never gonna, that's that chihuahua, um, which we talked about the ego and how to deal with the ego and being
Hmm.
curious about the ego. But we also want to, when that chihuahua is barking in your ear about explaining why you can't have this, you have to come back with your statement that you said, and where you say, I deserve this, I'm creating this, moving forward,
It's happening.
So that part's tricky. I mean, again, all of these things sound really easy when I explain them, but putting them into practice is not easy. The practice positive thought. And then the last step is to give it to God and let go and trust that what it is that you're looking for will come to you. Maybe not in the exact way that you saw it. Like I saw my beach place was going to be in one specific beach and it wasn't there. It was somewhere else, but so much of it lined up. It just made sense. So, and then through the whole experience, you want to enjoy the journey, because that's really why we're here. We're creator beings, so we're always creating. If we don't create for ourselves, I really do feel that we get stuck in this sort of sadness because we're just existing. We're not meant to just exist, we're meant to create. And maybe you start this off, like I was thinking while we were talking, how like you wanted to create this whole new house for yourself and everything, but not that you can't do that, but it may be hard when you're doing the action steps of that. So maybe it would make sense is to have the vision of a whole house, but then take one room at a time. Okay, well, what's my first priority? Well, I really want to do the kitchen. All right, well, so then I'm going to do the work for these next weeks to establish the kitchen that I want. So I feel like I am, putting this in a nice little ticky-tacky box. And I know that is not how it works. So I would love to hear your thoughts now about the
Yeah,
steps.
so since my issue is kind of staying on track, and we know that that's where it is, I would say, what can we do to keep the process going for ourselves? Like getting a buddy, a vision buddy who,
Hmm.
who you can check in every day to see if you're doing the work, just as a reminder. I hate being confined by huge restrictions or even huge planning and goals. Like that's always been an issue. Like, a big plan is really hard for me. But knowing that we both want to be at the same place at the same time, or can check in with each other is really important. When I ran my first marathon when I was 44 years old, or 45, and that process in and of itself is a huge exercise in manifesting, because you have to go down a road that is going to have things thrown at you, and I wish it could serve as my constant daily reminder, but I started out and I didn't know I could do it. But the first step was, we had a coach for the group that we were running with. The coach gave us a plan. So when I want that to happen, when do have a goal in mind, I'm like, I'm going to follow this plan to the letter. Like I'm either by the book or I'm not, but this was a by the book thing. And then, little by little, you can see the progress that people talk about. Also, the same coach had said, you're not doing this because you love the feeling of like running in the marathon. Like it's not a marathon, at mile, whatever, 13 or 15 or 20 that is so exhilarating. It is that feeling that you're feeling when you're done, that exhilaration, the endorphins. And I've always attached to that. And which is kind of why I picked the bed, the turning off the nightstand lamp, is because that was a way to get through the how am I going to get there. All I got to do is envision that exhilaration of being done, and I know that I'll be done. Like it's like I'm a procrastinator too, so a lot of times I procrastinate because I'm thinking I know that on this date at this time, this assignment, this whatever our show or whatever we're doing is going to be done and it's going to be good. And so why stress about it? Just believe that it's going to happen. When it involves other people, I know it stresses you out, but I just mean that as an example of seeing the
Yeah.
end result is feeling and getting attached to that end feeling, and then the rest of it falls into place. Then you do you have to do to make it happen. I even got injured during that first year. I mean, and I thought midway I was done, and I really thought, oh, I hurt my Achilles tendon, and I went to a couple physical therapy sessions, and in August, when the race was in October, I thought I was done. Like I could barely walk. And someone said to me, "Well, you can still walk it." And this like concept just freed it. Like, oh, I was thinking I had to run it, but I could walk it. And once I thought I could walk it, then I thought, whoa, that's a good baseline. So it's like it was this whole experience that ended up with me running every mile without any injury, without any pain. I mean, and it's to this day I'm still shocked that it happened that way. But
That's so
it's
cool. And that's because you did all these steps. And that Rob brings up a really important point, which is if you're not sure where to start, draw on something, because we've all manifested stuff and some things come easier to us than others. And that's a great example that you can draw on when you're trying to manifest something bigger
right.
or something more like, I had self-acceptance on my vision board, which is much broader than, something very succinct. And, but if you draw back on, oh, okay, well, so I just need to approach this the same way I approach that race.
Right.
I know I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the steps for the training of it. It's in the forefront of my mind, and the rest I got to just let go. And also something important to say that when you were talking, which I was also thinking about, is that you want to enjoy the process too, because even though, yes, you ran it and you completed it, and that's great, but what you probably also remember is the whole experience of the journey of training,
Absolutely.
deciding to do
Yep.
it, all of that. And that is what makes the stories rich to tell other people. And that's what, I mean, it's really of course we always say this, it's the journey, not the
It is the journey, but it's true.
destination.
But because that it was during that time that we formed a team. The team held each other accountable. We loved being together. We were friends and ran. We actually ran this marathon together, and then we all ran several other events together after this marathon. So it was a powerful experience. And then just one more synchronicity story about this specific marathon. My best training buddy, who we had become really close. We didn't start the race together, so. And I thought, well, I guess I'm going to be without her. And I didn't really think about it. And we were literally in like I forget, like we were over the halfway mark. And somehow I see her coming around the corner. And I'd never imagined that we were going to connect. And there are, the Marine Corps Marathon, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And she comes running around the corner. I see her. And we ended up running the rest of the race together. We literally held hands as we crossed the finish line together. Like,
Oh,
I'd never,
it's so
there were so
nice.
many things about this goal or this vision
Yeah.
that I didn't even expect, and it ended up being better than I could have imagined. So
which is so beautiful. And it's why you, I don't know, there's so much joy when you do something like that. And the fact that you got to do it with your friend is amazing.
mhm.
So maybe we just take ourselves too seriously, and maybe we, need to play in this more and not be like, oh my God, it's not coming. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, maybe we need to be light about it. We have to do the work, but we can still be light about it.
Sure.
Know it's coming in the same way that you knew that race was coming.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Because you just know there's a point where you cross it and you know it. I mean, even when you don't know it, you know it. And that sounds really silly, but
no,
it's
I totally get that, because I do that too, and we have to end in a second, but I do that when I feel overwhelmed with something that I'm writing or something that talk I'm going to do or something. And I say to myself, well, when have you ever not gotten it done? You're going to get it done. And just
many,
saying
many,
that
many an
out
overnight that I've had that same experience before
loud.
giving a Sunday sermon. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
like when did you not complete what you needed to do? So it's just like reassuring yourself that you could do it,
And realizing that you do it, like, pull those things together that you
You
pulled
would-
together and you succeeded in, and realize that if you succeeded in something, chances are it was part of a manifestation
right,
process that was
right.
inherent.
Yeah, so audience, look at what you do right. Look at what you've already manifested, so that can assist you on your way to manifesting whatever it is that you want. So I think that's it, other than just to, again, this will explain exactly how to manifest in much
It's the
easier,
answer, turns out.
concise ways. It's only like 60 pages. So check it out on Amazon.
And then let us know your manifestation stories, like what
Yes.
worked, what didn't, and
Yes. And thanks for watching today. And we'll see you next week.
we will see you. We'll be here next week. Yes.
All righty. Bye.
Bye.